Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And just having a little fun in the chat with you guys. Thanks, Eric. Eric gifted a lot of people memberships to the channel. So thanks, Eric, for doing that for everybody. Now everybody's got a cool badge when they come into the chat in the mornings. Kind of a little reward for people showing up and being on time and all this. So thanks again, Eric. Really appreciate that. Now today is kind of a weird day today because today is 10/4, October 4th, with 88 days left to go in the year. Now here's what makes this day different than others. The time on the clock in the clock tower in Back to the Future when Marty went through time was 10:04. Now if you type in 10:04 and into Google and you try to find out, that the clock tower said 10:04, it is very hard to find these images. You're only going to really see these images here or if you actually watch the film. But here's Doc Brown on the clock tower holding on to the hands of the clock, and at exactly 10:04 Marty jumps through time. Here's a screenshot showing the hand of the clock hitting the 4th minute of the 10th hour. And this is when Marty jumps through time. Now, what's interesting about this is that once Marty passes through time and ends up in the future from that point in the 1980s, he crashes into Trump, the false prophet. Reverend John Crump, which of course is Trump. Now, just before Marty passes through time in a hail of fire, we get the double cross in the street on his path to the other side. Now, once he reaches the other side, the DeLorean is frozen. So we have this fire and ice scenario, don't we? In the background here is the false prophet Trump on this movie theater, as I just showed you. Unbelievable. Now, what else is going on in this scene? Well, there's a lot going on, because as soon as Marty passes through and ends up under the Assembly of Christ and comes out of Reverend John Trump or Crump, there's a bum laying on a park bench. The bum is laying on a park bench that reads California Raisins. He's covered in newspaper. And the song that's playing in the background, which I'm not going to play, of course, for copyright reasons, is Heaven is One Step Away. Now, this is a very cryptic song by Eric Clapton. Here are the lyrics here, and he talks about trying to find heaven, and instead, he found the dawn. Now, the dawn is interesting because the dawn is, of course, the goddess related to Apollo. And there's a painting inside Trump's 66th floor penthouse with the dawn on it next to Apollo. And so Clapton doesn't find heaven. He finds the dawn or the morning star. Now, I think all that's stretching it. The song Heaven is One Step Away was recorded for this album, Behind the Sun. It didn't make it on the album. It actually debuted on the Back to the Future movie soundtrack. And if you think all that's a stretch, understand that the bassist that recorded it, his name is Donald Duck Dunn. And it was recorded under Duck Records. So, what's this all about? Well, we could follow this rabbit hole down many levels, but we're not going to today. I just wanted to show you that Back to the Future is not what you think it is. Now, today's show, we are going to delve into the origins of the dollar. The dollar, of course, is the basic unit of paper currency in America and the base currency of the entire world, for that matter, at least for now. We're going to break down the etymology of the word dollar, where it comes from, what it means, and the occult meaning behind it. Now, to begin our discussion, one of the most profound discoveries we ever made on this channel that got probably the least attention was the fact that most of the currencies of the world, paper money and coinage, add up to either the number 88 or the number 666. Chinese money, the British pound, the Russian ruble, the euro, Canadian money, Australian money, Japanese yen. Unbelievable. Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Caribbean money, the Mexican peso. This is the playlist, and I'll put a link to this in the pinned comment. But basically, this was one of the earliest discoveries we made on this channel. So these videos go back to 2013. In which we expose that all of the currencies of the world, when you add them up, the dollars and cents, the coinage, and the dollars, you get 88s or 666s. It's literally unbelievable. I couldn't believe when we found this. So this is something you can show people. Now, what else do we have here? Well, let's check the dollar and see what it adds up to in all of our paper currencies. Now, interestingly, this is what the government actually says the denominations are. This is right off the Gov website, so you know I'm not stretching anything or making it up. And they list the $2 bill, which is kind of odd because nobody uses $2 bills anymore. But here is our paper currency in the US. And all of that I did was add up the paper currency. And this is what I found. $1 bill plus $2 bill plus $5 bill plus $10 bill, 20, 50, and 100 adds up to 188. Now, what does this suggest? That all these currencies around the world add up to 88s and 666s. Well, it suggests that there was already a one world monetary system and government long time ago. Now, I also added up the coins in American currency, and they added up to 1.91, as you can see here. And you have 1 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, and the $1 coin. Adds up to 1.91. And this is probably why this 19 mirror, because this is what this is, it reads 19 both ways. This is likely why there were 19 tridents along the facade of the Twin Towers. So, now that we know these occult numbers make up the U.S. monetary system and the worldwide monetary system, we can see the continuity between all these currencies that have been going on for a very long time. So now let's get into the etymology of the dollar and where the word came from. Now, this is admitted, this is mainstream knowledge, that the word dollar came from the shortened version of Joachim Staller. Joachim and Boaz, the two pillars of Freemasonry. The Joachim Staller, shortened to the word thaler, T-H-A-L-E-R. And this first silver coin from Bohemian crown. Now, for many years, as I was studying the dollar, because I was really interested in it to see what it was all about, this is where the trail ended for me, because I assumed that we had exposed something looking at these Bohemian Grove roots of the dollar. So I thought that this was already profound enough, and that's where the rabbit trail ended for me. But then something told me to keep digging, and I found something even more sinister. The dollar, here it is right here, more coins shortened to thaler, large silver coins minted in the states, territories of the Holy Roman Empire, early modern period, dollar from Joachimsthal, Bohemia, and then they talk about the dollar here. What was the original name? As you can see here, so you know I'm not stretching this. The dollar is the thaler, and it's the same thing. Well, there's more to it, because the word thaler or thaler has its roots in the word thallus. Now, what is a thallus? A thallus is a rootless, stemless plant. It's essentially a dead plant, but it's not really dead. It's kind of alive. It's like a zombie plant. Now, why do I say that? Well, thalluses generally are limited to algae, fungi, lichens, and some liverworts. So imagine a rootless, stemless plant, and essentially a dead plant living off of death, living off of other organisms, that reproduces through unnatural means, parasitism. Now, does any of this ring a bell for you guys? Who is the rootless hybrid who reproduces parasitically? Well, it has to be the green enemy, doesn't it? So, thallus grow out of the dead. They grow out of decay, and they communicate through what seems to be a hive mind. Now, years ago, we realized that the words honey and money sound like the same thing. And I think we were onto something, because honey is money. It's basically the labor of the bees, isn't it? And it's gold. Comes out of the hive, and it's taken by larger predators, like wasps and other things, bears, who come in and steal the honey from the hive. Now, let's read a little bit about the dollar lichen. This is an article that I found on the lichen, and this is pretty crazy, because it says cells are primary elemental organisms that build up the multicellular organism by surrendering their individuality and autonomy to form an integrated federation. This is how they describe the dollar lichen thallus. Giving up your autonomy to be integrated into the federation. This is shocking. Now, what exactly is a thaler or a thallus lichen? Well, these lichen use cyanobacteria. It's actually, the definition of a lichen is a fungus and cyanobacteria working together in a mutualistic relationship. Now, if you look at some of these lichen, they look like flattened dollars, like real dollars. That's what they look like. They're green and flat with no stems, or leaves and roots. Let's see if there's any pictures in here. Here's one. There you go, right there. There's your dollar bill. And think of the occult meaning behind this that I just described to you. What is cyanobacteria? Cyanobacteria is blue bacteria. The word cyan means blue. The blue bloods. And in fact, Cain, the first blue blood, his name also is spelled K-A-Y-A-N. Cayenne, which means blue. The blue bloodline. Now, this article goes on to basically explain how the lichen form this mutual relationship. Again, fungus and bacteria. And I believe this is just metaphor for the twin spirits in one host body. They communicate with each other internally inside this mass of lichen. Now, if you think this is all crazy and none of this has anything to do with money, watch this. Because many of you know that lichen also sounds like another word, lichen. The lycanthrope, which is a werewolf. Here it is right here. Do you think that's an accident? What is a werewolf? It's half man, half wolf. It's a shapeshifter, a hybrid, just like the lichen plant. Now, we don't really know how these lichens communicate with one another. No one really knows. Some people have basically postulated that it might have something to do with a mycelial network, which is something a little bit different than lichens. But I think that the fact that the fungus and cyanobacteria communicate with each other inside the host body proves our point. It proves our point. And money seems to be the conduit to make that happen. Stealing your potential through a monetary system that forces you into behaving one single way, and that is buying into their system of education, job, working 9 to 5, basically directly opposed to the way God wants us to live, which is in nature and trading with each other, our love and our resources and our skills with one another. Instead, it all goes to the beast. And people are willing to do whatever it takes to be on top, sacrificing friendships, love, forsaking pretty much everything. Now, I'm going to leave you with this last study here. And this is creepy. They're studying the bees here to see if they would actually live inside of a mycelial network. And they're using this as a precursor to someday put humans inside these mycelial beehives. This study is by Thomas Schmickel. Beehives of Hiveopolis, designing and building. I can't see that. Oh, there it is. Therapeutic inner nest environments for honeybees. Now, we've talked a lot about the nested reality, haven't we? And what all that means. Things within things. Apparently, this is a brand new study from 2022, this year. Let's read just the abstract here. It says the Hiveopolis project aims to diversify and complexify urban ecological niches to make them more resilient to future game changers such as climate change. So in other words, they want to change the way you live, what you live in. It says here the combined functions of mycelium materials have the potential to provide a therapeutic environment for honeybees and potentially humans in the future. Welcome to the Hive Matrix. This is what we've been trying to tell you that they have intended for us. This fits right into what they're saying about owning nothing and being happy, living in a box. This is where it's all headed. The Hiveopolis, literally the Matrix future of people laying in pods hooked to the machine. Now, what are these mycelium materials? Well, my guess is that this mycelium will be the electrical connection. They'll be able to send electrical currents through your house, through the walls, through your furniture, through everything, and it will have an effect on you. Let's read some of this, because this is very, very important. Normally, I don't read through these studies, but this one needs to be read. The characteristics that define a healthy environment have changed significantly over the human history. The miasma theory, an obsolete scientific theory, suggested that diseases are caused by bad air. Later, the discovery of germs as the origin of diseases led to the public perception of all microbes as pathogenic. As a result, humans' indoor lifestyle and their yearning for hygiene have set the goals for the design of buildings and criteria for the selection of materials for isolation. Wow! In addition, human activities, monocultures, and intensified agriculture caused the isolation of other living species from their co-evolved symbionts, e.g. through habitat fragmentation. A significant de-wilding activity is the exploitative domestication of wild animals, especially keystone species like honeybees. Among other pollinators, honeybees play a crucial role in conserving biodiversity in flora and fauna. Besides that, they ensure food diversity for human society. Commercial honeybees used in agriculture are affected by a rich spectrum of stressors, such as overcrowded positioning or long-range transportation of hives, and agriculturally applied chemicals. Honey and other bee products crucial to honeybees' well-being are also removed from honeybee colonies. In the meanwhile, cities are becoming megacities due to human population growth. This comes at the expense of diminishing forests, marshlands, and other ecologically vital habitats. Finally, several other essential habitat types are decreasing. So they're talking about the habitat decreasing, how we're going to fit in to and live inside of this world, our relationship with nature and the world, how we're affected by that. Now there's some pictures in here in which they use this mycelium to make beehives. Here's some of the pictures here. Look at this. Diversity of man-made beehives in natural honeybee nest. Medieval bee haven found in Roslin Chapel, Scotland. Keep going here. In nature, fungi takes the role of primary microbial decomposers, meaning they decompose material in the world's ecosystems. However, fungi can also be used not only to decompose, but also to compose new structures. Mycelium is the vegetative growth of filamentous fungi that bonds organic matter through a network of hyphal microfilaments, and it is currently a competitor of several synthetic materials. So, in fact, the fungi does have mycelial networks that are invisible to the human eye, confirming that the dollar, the thaler, the fungus, the lichen is basically a metaphor for the hive matrix and pulling you into that hive matrix. Now I'll put a link to this study. Some of you are probably very interested. You could do an entire video just off of this study. They're looking into hybrid construction methods for building more bioreceptive and bioactive beehives. Remember, the future of this is to put humans in this. They're studying on the bees first. They're talking about mycelial growth and communication through the mycelial network. Let's scroll down here because I know there's more pictures. I did kind of look through this. Here are some of the synthetic mycelial images. Looks kind of fiber optic, doesn't it? Whoa, this is the matrix. This is it right here. Topological operations for continuous toolpath drawing, hexagonal weaving, point bonding material, linear bonding area. Unbelievable. Welcome to the matrix, as I always say. This is the future. Here's some more images here. Artifacts produced with different methods. Infill feed, self-feed. This looks like a horror movie. Can you imagine living in something like this? Whoa. This reminds me of the scenes from the films Alien, where they would abduct the people and the aliens would put them inside of these like pods and seal them in like they were in a beehive so they could harvest them later. So they're doing hex weaving. They're weaving hexes on humanity in some of these pictures. Now I'll dig into the study a little bit more, see if there's anything else to see here. Maybe I'll do a word search on the page. Let's see here. Find. I just typed in the word electric. Nothing came up there. So yeah, I'll dig into this further in a future show, possibly, and see if there's anything else in that article. Anyway, I'm back in the chat now. Thanks everybody for being patient while I was on this rabbit hole journey. Let's go into the chat and see what you guys are up to. See if you guys have any input on what we just covered. Crazy times, you guys. Crazy times. Let's see, check for any bots or trolls. All right. Creepy, right? They're literally telling us they want to put us in the hive matrix from the movie. I mean, where else is this headed, you guys? Each generation that goes by is more and more and more plugged in to the virtual reality. People don't even know how to have real relationships anymore. Everything's through the virtual network. So where is the end point of all this? Where does it terminate? What do they call that? When you approach the end of something, it would be plugged right into it, right? I mean, that's where it's headed. If you were to graph out the amount of electrical, interaction into the internet and all this, and you were to start that graph in the 1970s, and then basically end or, draw a line and measure the amount of time that people are plugged into the internet, we're fast approaching 90% of your day, except for the time at your sleep. And probably the next thing you're going to do is plug something into your brain while you're sleeping. For those that want to continue to be productive, right? Just plug you right in. You could work in your sleep as you're dreaming, taking care of bills and things in your sleep. This is what's probably going to come next. And by the end of it, people are going to be like, why even leave the house? What do you think this whole lockdown thing was about? It was a precursor to something much more serious. It was a test run. Let's lock everyone in their houses and see how long they can survive. Because at some point, that's going to be our life. We're going to live in boxes, basically laying in a bed or a pod with things hooked into us, taking care of all of our daily activities. Work from home, work from your brain, work from your connectivity. Then guess what's going to happen in those pods? They're going to be harvesting us on some level, right? And they'll control all of your interactions with other people through the net. They'll be able to stop any kind of dissent or anyone waking up to the matrix going, you guys, this isn't normal. We're supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be doing other things. And as soon as someone wakes up to it, that person will be silenced. They will basically be turned off, or they'll get a visit at their door and unplugged from the matrix. It's no different than the movie, you guys. It's no different. And the more technology and conveniences that we're given, the more people eat it right up. No one's questioning this. No one's questioning it. You know? So, what else is going on in the chat here? I think it's probably all cut up now. The Meta commercials are unsettling, says Ellen. I have not seen those. You guys, why do you think I came out here into the middle of nowhere? Maybe it was a last-ditch effort to stay in nature. It was one of the last bastions of the natural environment. I think Arkansas is actually called the natural state. It almost forces you to go outside, the way it's set up here. Max and I have to drive 30 minutes just to get to a grocery store. And that's the way I like it. Now, this isn't for everybody, but guess what? If you don't force yourself to get outside and unplug from all this, then you will be stuck in their paradigm, in their matrix, when things start to go south. And that's when it's going to be really hard to make certain decisions about things. You're going to be forced into things you never thought you would comply with, just to stay in the matrix, just to keep that job, just to keep that home you're renting, just to keep that marriage. So, crazy times, you guys. Crazy times. All right, what else is going on in here? Now, this isn't hard. There doesn't have to be some huge revolution with bloodshed and all this. We just have to raise people's awareness about how they think about things. Yes, do not comply, Omerta. It's very, very simple. The problem is too many people are complying. We're building our own matrix prison. When Trump said 5G, 6G, and beyond, there should have been a protest. No, we don't want to be like China. 4G is fine. When is this going to stop? We don't need faster processing, because guess what? Faster processing is only going to benefit one group of people, and those are the people controlling everything. So they can have real-time surveillance and surveil your bank account in real time and turn you off and be able to identify dissenters through algorithms and immediately cut off your funding or shut down your YouTube channel. Why do we want them to have more power? Hey, look, as long as you can stream a movie on the internet, what more power do you need? You see how this all works now? So, this is an information war. This is waking people up to this, getting people to go back to the natural, getting people to go back to planting a garden or raising livestock, fishing, hunting. This is why, we got trolled quite a bit when I would start talking about hunting and fishing. People are like, how could you do that to an animal? Well, look, the agenda is to put everyone on eating bugs or eating ourselves, because there's no guilt in eating yourself, right? This is the way they want people to think. Oh, just eat Soylent Green. Came from us, it goes back into us. This is where the whole NASA thing, the NASA psyop, eating your own poop and drinking your own pee to go on these, 3-year journeys is the only way to really do it, right? You can't store enough food So this is what they're trying to get us to do. And if you're not awake to that deception and you're buying right into the vegetarian agenda, which is a satanic agenda, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be vegetarian, you have the right to do that. But when you start preaching at people who are trying to retain their right to eat meat, and you start preaching at them and condemning them, then it becomes a doctrine of demons, and it fits right into the agenda that they're pushing from the top down. That's why they're pushing it. I mean, it's pretty much as clear as day to me what they're doing at the top, pushing down this agenda of making everyone feel guilty for taking the life of an animal to eat it. And by the end of it, it's actually working. The newer generations of children coming out are terrified to eat something that was killed. Terrified. They literally can't even put the food in their stomach because of all the programming. They throw it up, vomit it out. And this is our future. And as soon as they have everyone brainwashed and our generation dies off, guess what? That's when they'll justify eating yourself, eating Soylent Green. They'll be like, well, that's the only logical explanation. We're on this planet and we shouldn't be here. And, you know, we shouldn't be eating anything. Even plants have souls. Well, the only logical explanation or the only logical conclusion we can come to is just to eat ourselves. That's all. Zero carbon footprint. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but in the end, the cannibal, Cain and Abel, is where they want all of this. I believe Cain was the first cannibal who ate his brother. And that's why they call it Cain-Abelism. Now, I got one more thing to show you. This very important year, 1958. Now we're talking about NASA. I can show you guys the year 1958. Now this was a creepy year because 58 years after this 1958 year, Trump would become president. In his 58-story building, in his 58-bedroom Mar-a-Lago, in the 58 Western that talks about Trump building a wall, selling umbrellas to people to save them from the end of the world. So I decided to dig deeper into the year 1958 to see if there was anything really weird that happened, and absolutely there was. This is when the first color television broadcast came out. The first satellite put into the sky. And the age of space exploration, which I believe is a big farce, and the development of NASA. This was the year that NASA was developed. Now, here are some of the other events that happened. Of course, Michael Jackson was born in 58 and he died 88 days after the 88th day of the year in 2009. But look at this stuff. All this stuff that happened. There was even Prince Charles was made the Prince of Wales in this year. Do you see how we've just basically come back to the future? Now he's the king of Britain. I'll just scroll down through some of this stuff for you guys to see this. The year 1958. Sputniks were going up in the air and crashing. We had the World's Fair in Brussels, Expo 58 with the atomium cube. Remember that? We decoded the atomium cube. What's this? We had plane crashes and all kinds of other crazy, weird stuff. We had, what else here? Sputnik 3, Starfighters, F-104. There was one other important one that I wanted to put in here. U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower becomes the first American elected official to be broadcast on color television. So there was a shift here, wasn't there? An explosion of technology happened in 1958. Wow. Scroll through a few more of these. Now, some of you were born in 1958, and you remember these times. Here's the Prince Charles thing. He got the customary title of Prince of Wales in 1958 on July 26th. Here's the setup of Congress for NASA right here on July 29th. What else? So, there's something to all this, isn't there? I believe there is. October, let's see here. All right, that's pretty much it. Oh, here's the first computer video game. This is interesting. And guess where it was introduced at? Brookhaven National Laboratory, which we've covered at length. Let's take a look at this video game. This is kind of interesting. Ping pong, basically. I'm sorry, it's actually tennis. Let's look at this video here. This is actually the game being played. This was at Brookhaven. Look at this. Oh, 58 seconds long. Huh. That's just coincidence, right? They love their numbers. Here was the original remote control. This is almost, and I know this is technology, and I know that this is supposedly there's, a method to this, how this works, why it works. But imagine being one of the first people to see something like this. It almost looks spiritually possessed. A light crossing a screen that could be controlled remotely. Crazy, you guys. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Let me go back in the chat here. What a day. Back to the future. All right. Okay, let's see what you guys are up to. Some of you were born in, one person said they were born in 54. Wow. Okay. Sally was born in 65 and remembers Pong. And I remember Atari and Commodore 64. Oh, Commodore 64. 8 times 8. 88. Wow. 10-4. Yes, Christine. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, I guess I'm going to let you go. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. I love each and every one of you. You guys have a great rest of your day. I think we're going to do Between the Headlines tomorrow. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Take care and be safe.